Microphone check 1 2. What is this? The 6'2" assassin with the roughneck business. What's going on, Kayfabers? I'm gonna give you guys a couple of minutes to get your asses in here, but it's gonna be a Nocturnal ink stream this evening. We're going for a Nocturnal ink stream. The bulk of our videos get recorded on Thursdays, and we had a great session this morning. Got busy at 6 a.m. Here, let me fix this here. Alright, cool. Got busy at 6 a.m. and edited a bunch of stuff. Got that done at about 4 p.m. Fucking fell asleep hardcore for hours. Got up at like 7. So I'm a little bit nocturnal this evening, and I figured why not get that one page finished that I was working on last stream. This is what happens when you're making monthly comics, man. There's no rest for the wicked. And in these COVID times, who gives a fuck? Put some work in. You dig? So that's where the mindset is right now. Process with Red Room number 1. Well, I put together a 100-page comic before I even started Red Room issue number 1. So there's like a proto Red Room story out there, and I realized that that story was too much just a serial killer tale. It wasn't the story I wanted to tell. You know, I was going for something more visceral, something with more of a universe built in rather than just a small character drama. And I put that to the curb, man. Showed it off to some friends. Me and Jimmy took a screenwriting course, so we workshopped the comic a bunch, sort of under the guise of TV pilot or something, because that was the language that the instructor knew. And then after that, I had my marching orders. It was time to put pencil to paper for real, man. Quit playing games. Drew the first half of the issue on this big-ass 11x17 paper. And then decided to start drawing on like 9x12, which served me well. I drew on 9x12 for most of 2020. And the only reason that I'm working on big again is because in this panel, this panel is going to be sort of one continuing action on every page. And at the beginning, this is page 17 or 18, kind of lost track. But there would be up to 8 characters in a panel, and that's just impossible to draw small. And also this top tier is going to be in color. So I wanted the benefits of reduction just so that my artwork would get tightened up a little bit, because there's going to be less lines on this, which means less room to hide all my flaws and mistakes. When we interviewed Todd McFarlane, he kind of changed my trajectory in some ways. I was thinking like maybe do like a 4-issue thing and then collect it, one story, limited series kind of thing. But he really excited me about the idea of monthly comics, and there's a lot that doesn't impress me about the business of comics, and certainly monthly comics have been pretty whack for decades. So I was thinking, like, what is corny about them? There's a generic sensibility. Certainly the corporate aspect where there's nothing really being done or said. It's just lighthearted entertainment or whatever. Not like this is James Joyce, but one of the main sticking points I've kind of identified, and once again, I'm no Marco Polo. Like I didn't. I'm not the only one who talks about this, but that decompressed storytelling where they stretch one story over a million issues for the birds. It's disrespectful to you guys, the reader, who has to shell out maybe $60 to read a story, and then put out a trade and all of that. It's like, fuck that shit, man. We're gonna put out these issues. Every issue is a complete story. You find an issue in a back issue bin over time, rest assured you're going to get a complete narrative, something that you could, be satisfied with. Do I want you to get all of them? Fuck yeah, I do. But as time goes on, it's gonna the singular nature of each story is going to be more and more valuable because people are going to discover them in the back issue bins or wherever. And a percentage of those people are going to dig the stuff. In 2020 was a crazy year for all of us. That goes without saying. But it was always meant to be a production year for me. So I wasn't planning on putting out much new work, but I did have a couple books come out. I had a $150 book come out. I had a $100 book come out. And that is not a good way to build new readers, I couldn't imagine somebody taking their first stab at a Ed Piskor comic by plunking down $150 for a studio edition or $100 for the X-Men Grand Design Omnibus. So this is nickel bags, man. This is the entry level gateway drug into my sick and depraved mind. Storm Crow, shouts to your late night ink session. Where are you streaming from? I know you said before, but as you could tell, get a lot of people coming through the room. This top panel, this top row kind of follows around this girl's story, the daughter of, I won't spoil it, Vancouver Island, British Columbia. That's Todd McFarlane's old school stomping ground. I can't wait for you guys to start seeing some of the videos that we recorded today. I think I'm going to put one of them live tomorrow morning. So much good stuff, and Jimmy and I have been doing this for 2 years now, and the rapport is strong on the cam. Like, I just, even in the editing process, I feel the energy. We sort of know each other's tics, each other's habits. We're getting better not talking over each other, though we're still big fucking nerds, and we still get excited. So if we see something that captures our imagination, our lips start jabbering. I don't think that's a bad thing, though. Super fun session. We've been starting to record super early. I basically become semi-nocturnal Thursday night to about Tuesday, and then put myself on an early schedule so that we can start recording about 6 a.m. And the past 2 weeks we got done by noon, which was very advantageous because I just launch right into the editing, get all the editing done, and fucking take a nap, man. So that's what I did today. Once you hit a certain age, you need your sleep. And I never get it the night before a Kayfabe session, so I just gotta catch that shit in the afternoon. And that's where we're at right now, man. It's, almost midnight. We're gonna finish this last tier. Take off the YouTuber hat, put on comic book maker hat, even though I'm kind of walking and chewing gum at the same time because we're here chilling. Small man, big mouth. Thanks for grabbing that. The Alan Moore shirt. The Alan Moore shirt has energy to it, man. You might get a halo of flies buzzing around your head if you wear that thing in certain conditions. If there's a vernal equinox or full moon, beware. The one video that you guys must know that we recorded, of course, was another 1963 issue. Horus, the Lord of Light. Alan Moore is so good at capturing that Silver Age voice. And I say you guys must know that, those of you who know 1963 and who've been digging those videos, we put them out like every Tuesday. There's going to be 6 total. And we recorded the 5th one this go-round. I kept joking that it was maybe Alan Moore's favorite because it's so kind of obtuse and he's really getting into Egyptian gods and stuff. And it's kind of one of the hardest to kind of keep up with. Bane Clandestine, thanks for digging the Marvels video. You gotta do some Alex Ross joints. And I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, because you saw the video, it's more fresh in your head, but I think Jim said he never read it before. And he definitely dug it. Trying to debate if you gotta liven up this little cabin, but I don't want it to touch the stuff on panel 2. So it's like, what should I put up there? Maybe just like, maybe a hammer. who all's hanging out drawing with me? I know we have some cartoonists in the crowd. They put out a fairly recent printing of Marvels, and the way for them to get you to buy some old rope was they included a commentary section in the back. And it was pretty much, it's pretty much exclusive to pointing out little Easter eggs. Alex Ross saying, oh, this is my mom. I thought the professor from Gilligan's Island would make a good Mr. Fantastic. Shit like that. Fanboy stuff. Yeah, I use Procreate on the iPad to set up my pages. If you see real close, there's perspective grids that my kind of actual pencils kind of overpower it, but underneath you could see there's grids, and I just do that with in Procreate, and then I do like a very basic level of penciling. Just because I like to be able to move stuff around very, very slightly if necessary, and don't have to erase and redraw or trace a piece, erase, light box. Our girl here, she's kind of stalking her dad back to their cabin, and she hasn't been to the cabin in a while, so when she goes in there, she sees this stuffed animal. Is just like, what the hell is a stuffed animal doing in here? Leads to some questions, and then here's a scream. Her friend's outside stalking around. I use the Procreate perspective assist with the vanishing points and stuff. I do use the grid sometimes, but I try not to have too many kind of flat backgrounds. We had the Robert Crumb video that we put up a week or two back kind of catch some virality for us. I always wonder what kind of... We can never predict what the heck you guys respond to. Like we do stuff with the intentions of people seeing our stuff and liking it. But the Robert Crumb one was I knew it was going to be a good conversation, but once again, can never predict what you guys are going to check out. Yeah, the artist edition vids are super fun. Basically, what you're what you're bearing witness to when you see our artist edition conversations would be the exact discussions that Jimmy and I would have if we were in a gallery setting and saw that material. You know, the cool thing about having friends with similar interests is that you take different things away from looking at the same stuff, reading the same stuff. So when I'm looking at the thing, I'm getting one level of engagement, and you know, Jimmy's getting another level. Take a look at the work, observe, then debrief. And Jimmy and Tom Shioli, they're like my, you know, big brothers from other mothers. I've been hanging out with those dudes since I was 21 years old, and I'm 38 now. When I started kicking it with them, I was very impressed because they were the only people I ever hung out with. They were the first people I hung out with who were like married adults. And then I think about it now, and it's like adults. They were like, I don't know, 25 or 26. Yeah, that Tim Vigil Batman stuff, that threw us for a total loop receiving that material. And we were very excited to get that out there. We knew that was going to be a hit because we've built a certain kind of audience that is down with the outlaw shit. And, you know, few people knew. Like, we didn't know that Batman stuff existed. This is the Will Eisner train track drapery. Yeah, Joker is cokehead. Did you guys ever, like, not sure if, who all's like a old school pro wrestling fan, but there was this behind the scenes tape. It's here on YouTube somewhere. It's called Behind the Bash. And Behind the Bash 88 or Behind the Bash 86 or something. So there was the big WCW pay-per-view event called the Great American Bash, and the footage is just camcorder tape from, you know, that day at the Coliseum before the show began. And there's this one sequence where Hawk and Animal, the Road Warriors, you know, this is real shit. You know, this is behind the scenes footage that wasn't supposed to see the light of day. And Hawk and Animal and Lex Luger are in this green room fucking doing cocaine. Or, you know what? Don't let me slander and libel. They were snorting some kind of powdered chemical that when they took it, they started like doing do-si-do and shit, ring around the rosies. And there's something incredibly scary about 300-pound muscle-bound dudes with crazy mohawks and face paint doing do-si-do and hopping and skipping like little girls. Seem a little unhinged. And that's what that Joker makes me think of, man. It's like you got this crazy psychopath, and now let's add another layer of fucked up shit, unpredictability to the character. You know, make him like a extra self-important, narcissistic coke guy. Smoke, draw, repeat. Thanks for pre-ordering Red Room. Let me pop that link up there fresh so you guys could hit that pre-order button and grab your copy of Red Room ahead of time if you haven't done so already. Like the title of the video suggests, man, you guys are already making this thing a hit months before it's even going to see the light of day, so that's very, very gratifying. It's a dope byproduct of the channel, certainly. And I'm very, very appreciative. Back to sort of what I was saying about Todd McFarlane earlier, about kind of inspiring me to do the monthly thing. We're in this position where we can make the things that we want. So this is a kind of comic that I want to see on the rack. And you can't point to any other examples right at this moment. So let me make the thing. Let me be correct in my assessment that you guys are going to be out there supporting the project. And then you prove me right. You support the project, make this thing a hit. There's going to be a lot of wild shit on the stands this time next year. Mark my words. There's going to be some real cool reasons for us to go to the comic shop. Dante's Paradise. Thanks for that pre-order, bruh. It's funny you say that because there's already been some Hollywood cats hitting me up. The press release went live on Hollywood Reporter and started fielding some calls over the weekend. But your homeboy Eddie P is a comic book maker. I'm not too impressed by Hollywood people, so what's that one line? We could talk, but money talks, so talk more bucks. Hook me up. Romance me. And we could talk about some live action shit. But don't mistake me for some jobber that's looking for that 30 grand Netflix deal. Please. Don't insult me. Oh snap, there's a Ghost in the Shell adaptation. I might have to check that out. The CGI makes sense for that. I feel like there have been a few CGI adaptations of Ghost in the Shell. CTO, thanks for the super chat. Thanks for ordering Red Room 1. You got the John Byrne joints. I still need to see Standalone Complex. You know what the problem is? Just with all the... Here's how my week is kind of divvied up. Wednesday is Kayfabe prep day. So that means get up super early, read about 500 pages worth of comics and associated articles and stuff. With whatever time I get left, do a little drawing. Thursday, Kayfabe record day. Kayfabe edit day. If I get all that stuff done early enough, then we have what we have right here. You know, get a little drawing in. A little bit of drawing in on a Thursday. You know, one tier of a page ain't about much. That's barely me getting started. Every other day, Red Room Day. From open until close, man. Sun up to sundown. It's always been. If I'm at home, I'm working. And just like everybody else, I'm at home. Yeah, I like that Ghost in the Shell flick. I did think it was funny that everybody was like, and the plot for that Scarlett Johansson Ghost in the Shell sucks. Blah, blah, blah. And I never respond to that kind of nonsense, you know? But I was just thinking, like, please explain the comic to me. Please explain the anime to me. I would like to hear you explain it, because that shit is pretty far out. No, I like to do one page at a time, really. I don't like to pencil ahead a bunch. That said, with this particular story, I roughed out every page ahead of time. And I think I might continue to do that. There's value in that for me. Laying out all the pages and then going back to page one and being a little bit more objective is a good thing for me. You know, let me go back to it, be a little hard on myself. Does this work? Does this not work? Is this shit corny? Is this shit whack? Redraw this panel, redraw that panel. There's value in that. Bane Clandestine. I don't know where you get your info at, man, but the Japanese mangaka, they're doing all right. They're doing quite all right. And they sort of work to death on their own volition. It's just a cultural thing. The dude who does Naruto, or better yet, because it's still coming out, dude who does One Piece doesn't have to be doing One Piece. Nobody has a gun to his head. But those motherfuckers, man, they always impress me. One Piece, while I was out there, I think they put out a new Tankobon volume. I think he puts 4 out a year. 200-300 page books. Yeah, I saw Mandy. You know what I saw last night? You guys recommended that American Mary flick, and I checked that out. It's real fun going into these flicks, have no clue what the movie's about. And I thought the movie started out very, very strong. I was super into it, and I'm like, okay, this is sick. This girl, she's gonna be like a black market. She's gonna be like Blackjack. She's gonna be like Tezuka's Blackjack. Like, that's fucking dope. You know, black market surgeon. I'm on board. And then it took that dark turn, and just kept getting darker and stuff. The characters of it, like that weird Betty Boop girl with the surgery, that was interesting stuff. I like when there are just wild characters introduced in flicks that kind of stand out. But what makes them wild isn't really like the story point, you know? but I don't know that they stuck the landing with that flick. I am glad I saw it, though. Got a little something out of it. Yeah, I gotta see Videodrome again. I'm a Cronenberg head. It's been a while. I like Debbie Harry. Or if you saw her name in the phone book, Harry Deborah. It's a Beavis and Butthead joke. Possessor by Cronenberg's son. I have not. What do you say, man? The apple don't fall far from the tree? Possessor, good stuff? When I was prepping and doing my X-Men, my Claremont X-Men reread for Grand Design, there's a part like around Extinction Agenda time. It was probably like Rick Leonardi issues or late Silvestri. There are these guys who go to phone booths and can kind of like teleport within the phone wires and travel that way. Very, very Matrix-like. I have to imagine that the Wachowskis were down with that. I might have to see that, The Color Out of Space. I'm a fan of Lovecraft. And I'd be curious to see an adaptation. I feel like he would be a very tough writer to adapt because one of the tropes of Lovecraft writing is the human mind could not comprehend its shape and all of that kind of stuff. Yeah, Silvestri X-Men issues are so sick. That guy, man, he was hell of a draftsman. I said it in like old Wizard episodes that we did. His whole thing is like dumb down for my audience, double my dollars, man. Like he just went super shallow with the artwork. And listen, the fans responded. They ate that shit up. So why would he have incentive to go back to doing the real shit? Somebody in the chat here, on one of the earlier streams, I was complaining that the Akira box set went back up in price. You know, I was looking at it, hesitant to pull the trigger for a minute when it was down to about $140. Somebody in the chat mentioned that went back down to that price. So I have that. I should be here tomorrow or the next day pretty psyched, man. I'm really psyched to get my hands on that Akira Club book. You know, that thing can cost you $100 on eBay, so that's the main impetus. But I also am stoked to see the unflipped artwork. I'm gonna have to give that a reread. Yeah, I don't think Jim or I have any Berserk. I discovered Berserk from the Sega Dreamcast video game. First person, you can't call it a shooter because the guy's wielding a giant fucking sword. First person hack and slash? And then it was like some months later, man, maybe even a year later, when we discovered that in like the anime existed. And man, I think it took even longer for the manga to come to the States and receive a proper translation. I mean, sort of Berserk. That's the name of this Sega Dreamcast game. That probably came to the States in 99 or 2000. Dreamcast was not long for this world. Too hackable. Too hackable. No developer support. Sega burnt a bunch of developers earlier than that, having the Sega 32X, the Sega CD, and the Sega Saturn all come out in rapid succession. What's up, Radman? We're thinking about doing Shock on the Forever Man episode. It's one of those wild stories. Dude had a little self-published comic and then gets a Sega Genesis video game out of the deal. Wild shit. Oh, Comic Crack, you're gonna dig Pluto. Naoki Urasawa was an excellent mangaka. One of my favorites working today. Probably him and Inio Asano are my go-tos right now. PBR. Thanks for that super chat. Toe Jam and Earl was dope. Wasn't there like a handful of Ren and Stimpy games? I know that there was a handful of Ren and Stimpy games for Super Nintendo. Yeah, I hope you dig the omnibus, man. There's a lot of cool extras in there. I think I could start doing some marker work here. What's up, Fools Fox? The algorithms for YouTube are kind of wonky. You hit that bell and there's like no guarantee that you'll be notified, man. I guess they really only notify a percentage of subscribers, and then based on how many people pop in, they'll notify a couple more and a couple more. That seems to be how most of the algorithms on these social networks work. Trying to complete the X-Men, the original X-Men run. That's an expensive proposition, Undead. Jason Carnes, Fuckator, what's up, homeboy? If you guys have Facebook, search for Fuckator. Add yourself to the Fuckator group. Jason Carnes is putting together some real deal shit. Picked up the mantle of like the Vigils and the Everett Hartsoes and all those cats, man. Making legit, authentic, venomous outlaw comics. No, we never talked about collaborating on a comic. You know, me and the Pittsburgh fellas. We kind of, you know, we do our own things. The beauty of comics is that you can do it by yourself, and you could really point to a handful, you know, 2 handfuls of great comic book collaborations. You know, there's plenty of good ones, but good is the enemy of the best. Good is the enemy of the great. So Tom has his modus operandi, I have mine, Jimmy has his. So we all just do our own thing. Ryoichi Ikegami is a fantastic mangaka. Did you see his episode of Man-Ben with Naoki Urasawa? It's a great episode. He talks about his vanity, basically, and how, you know, he makes work with all beautiful people. Everybody's gorgeous in a Ryoichi Ikegami comic, and his vanity is so strong that he actually didn't even want his face to be seen, because he's an older man now. He didn't want his face to be seen on the damn show, so he drew his own portrait and they stitched it on top of his face. You know, he drew maybe 5 drawings, so if he's in a humorous situation with Urasawa, the drawing switches to the happy face. But that's a must view if you haven't seen that episode. And Ryoichi Ikegami did Crying Freedman, as the chatter described, but he also did Mai the Psychic Girl. And I keep Mai on my spinner rack. Let's see. Let's take a gander. This is one of the first manga to come out through Viz. We did a video about it not too long ago. They're barely ramping up in this one. He drew another comic that was real great called Sanctuary. I forget the exact conceit of Sanctuary. It's something about two homies grow up. One of them becomes a yakuza, the other becomes a cop or something. Oh, I know, right? Like, that villain in Mai comes straight out of Central Casting. No, there's no bagging and boarding our comics here. We read our comics. We always get comments from people like, why are you guys bending the spine so much? Like, give me a fucking break. We're makers, not marks, man. I don't think I have a favorite single issue. That's a tall order. Like right now I'm surrounded by, what's 75 times 300? And that's just in this room. when I was growing up, I had one friend who was like a comic head, and I'm talking like elementary school when I was elementary school age, and his family, they were like these speculator hoarder people. You know, the adults were collecting trading cards, like non-sports trading cards, and this is 1990, 91. So they would have like Desert Storm trading cards with General Schwarzkopf and shit. And when he and I would go, we would ride our bikes to the drugstore to go pick up our comics. You know, every Friday we basically starve throughout the week, not eat school lunch, and use that money to go buy comics at the Rite Aid. And he would never open it. He would look for mint comics, which is fucking impossible at a Rite Aid, man. They're on those spinner racks. They're all ratty. Little kids are going through those things. And he would never open his shit. He'd be reading my issues of Punisher. I think about that dude sometimes, man. His name was Josh Covington, and he was a kid that definitely drew way better than me, and inspired me to draw, actually. You know, I was drawing before that, but he was so good, I wanted to try to compete. And I would say that he would be like one of the people who inspired me to just like really try to practice, because he was so good at the time. And I remember getting so frustrated drawing like Draculas and stuff, and just getting mad. It's not coming out the way I see it in my head. Getting real frustrated with myself. What's up, Brian? Um, yeah, we had Walden Books. I got Crow from Walden Books, and that was when there really wasn't any comic representation in Walden Books. It was like the Dungeon and Dragons modules, and there would be like a couple of comics back there. There would be ElfQuest comics. I'd never saw Watchmen back then. There was Harvey Picar's stuff would be in Walden Books. Mouse would be in Walden Books. After a while, they got a little bit of a comic section, a little bit of Marvel, DC, graphic novel shit, trade paperback stuff. But I was talking with some of the stuff that Jimmy and I were recording today. There was a department store in the tri-state area here called Hills, and the first Batman comics, like I started reading Batman when I was like 5, you know, picking up Batman comics when I was 5, and I kept picking them up all the way until Nightfall, and I would get them from Hills department store, and I still have a bunch of them. Still have a bunch of them back there, and none of them have the barcode, which means that all the copies that I got from this department store were direct market, meaning that the store didn't go through the same channels that they would go through for magazines and stuff. They couldn't send back the old issues if they didn't sell. They had to eat the cost and keep them. And then I realized, like, there would be, say, 3 rows, and they would be stacked up like 10. So it would be like 3 rows and then 10 stacked on top of each other. And it would be all your big stuff. It would be Transformer, you know, of course, all the toy licensed comics, because then you could just walk to the next aisle and pick up some of those action figures. But it would be G.I. Joe, it would be Transformers, and all the big Marvel DC stuff. So it would be Batman, X-Men, Spider-Man, all of those titles. You know, they wouldn't get deep cuts. Like, they wouldn't even have, like, a Green Lantern. You know, that would be too deep. And then you sort of peel the pile of Spider-Man comics, and they would go back 2-3 months. But then, after some time, they would just pull them off the rack and then make multi-packs out of them. So that was, like, one of the ways that I would get my comics. You know, it took me a long time to discover a comic book store. I was probably 12 or 13. Nah, the Transformers comic's kind of weak. The Marvel shit, it's not pretty toothless. Not much there. Not as good as G.I. Joe. There were all these weird multi-pack comics back in... I think that certain distributors must have just fucking disappeared after the 1986... because there would be, like, at the mall, KB Toys, there would be crazy multi-packs, or just, I have comics that I got there that were 30 cents, and it would be, like, First Comics, and I remember thinking, like, what is all this off-brand shit? How come they don't have Spider-Mans? But I picked that stuff up anyway. I was just ravenous for whatever. Just give me comics, man. And then what those comics would be: Howard Chaykin, American Flags, Tim Truman, Grimjacks. You know, not bad pedigree. I think I'll use color for her shadow. Yeah, I'm a big lover of First Comics as well. I got a bunch of that stuff. You know, I like Mike Grell, John Sable freelance. Got a big run of Star Slayer. Got a big run of Grimjack. Got a big run of American Flag and Nexus. Don't tell Jimmy, but I have almost zero Whisper comics. And why is that? Because when I was picking those up, I was a little boy. And all that girls' cooties bullshit, like Whisper was a girl character. Why am I trying to read that? But I think through stuff that you guys have sent us, I've put together a couple of them. Yeah, there were like 100 issues of Married with Children comics. That goes to show you the craziness of the speculator boom. Whenever I discovered comic shops, one of the valuable comics was... It was like Beavis and Butthead, Married with Children comics. Weird shit, man. No, I had no idea that there was a Sable TV show. Holy shit, learn something new every day. It has to be a piece of crap, right? Like, if I never heard of this show, it must be a real dog turd, right? Manimal. So it's that era, the era of Manimal. This girl's like stalking her dad's cabin. What's up, Evan Husney, man? Dark Side of the Ring producer, the runner of Power Comics. And Evan, if they click your name, are they going to be able to go to your YouTube channel where you're showing off the Power Comics and whatnot? And I will definitely be keeping my eyes peeled for what you're posting tomorrow, man. You got me stoked already. Boom, if you guys haven't done so, pre-order that Red Room issue 1. Gotta thank you guys, man, for already showing up and supporting it in a big way, those of you who have. Just gotta clutter up this little cabin. Dave Hartman, thanks a lot for supporting the comic, man. Getting it in the pull list. It's gonna be a monthly joint. And it should be reliable. I took 2020 and just worked ahead. Figure what the hell else are we, there's nothing else to do. So I'll work ahead on a monthly comic, man. Our main serial killer guy, he's a good Christian. Evan, I still can't believe you guys tracked down the John Tar creator. I didn't get a chance to see the interview yet, but I wonder if he speaks numbers. Because you have John Tar, I have John Tar. I see John Tar in the dollar bins. There's got to be 5 figures worth of them shits, right? That goes to show you how crazy comics were at a certain period. We had an industry that that could support 10,000, 20,000 copies of John Tar. Only 5,000 John Tars. That surprises me. I see it all like every time I go digging. It would make more sense if he's like semi-regional here. But nah, that's not true, because like one of the places that I would see it, like this shop owner would get comics from everywhere. You know, he would just ruthlessly buy people out. If I want to redraw it. Evan, I have high hopes for the John Tar interview. You know, like I'm imagining you guys putting your 10,000 hours practice of interviewing pro wrestlers to use, man, to get to the deep questions, man, regarding the creation of John Tar. I don't know how long you've been in the room, but I was talking earlier about the video called Behind the Bash 88, man, where Hawk and Animal, I know you're a Road Warriors homie, where Hawk and Animal are snorting some substance and acting crazy. One of the scariest pieces of wrestling footage I've ever seen. Also noteworthy for the Arn Anderson cameo, where he comes on the camera and he's like, "Are there any ladies that are going to be seeing this?" The guy holding the cam's like, no problem. Then Arn Anderson pulls his pants down and spreads his butt cheeks open. Those wrestlers, man, they some freaky ass dudes. Evan, it's so cool that you seek out and talk with these old comic heads, man. It really speaks to your character in relation to Dark Side of the Ring and the stuff that you guys unearth with that. You know, you guys definitely have that investigative mindset that is just freaking awesome. You know, you do the hard work so we don't have to. We could just sit back and enjoy it. And you know what? I friggin' appreciate it. Yeah, Arn Anderson, man, he looks like your uncle who won't let you get away with any mess. And even when he was a young man, he still had that kind of like comb over, just look like your next door neighbor. But you could just tell he's that kind of guy that could like take a punch. Yeah, Arn Anderson, he was a good soldier. He'll do a job for you. There was always like growing up uh, during the VHS era, having multiple membership cards to the various video stores in town. They would have their own kind of selections of wrestling VHS tapes. And it was always fun, like just grabbing those weird ones and trying to piece together the history. So it would be crazy when you would grab like an old VHS WWF tape and see Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard as like, you know, the Brain Busters or whatever in WWF. Like it just looked wrong because they were so you know, the Four Horsemen were a thing and they were so integral to WCW. They look like WCW or NWA guys, you know, kind of hillbilly looking, not Hollywood dudes. There was this one tape, man, Evan, maybe you even know what the heck it is. Like I would love to see it again. It was a import like Japanese tape and it would have Americans. It had Bam Bam Bigelow, it had Hulk Hogan as bad guy, had the Steiner brothers. Like basically every American was a heel. Steiner brothers bad guys. Trying to think what else. Damn, I'm gonna have to ask my brother. My brother is a pro wrestling referee. Who watches actual wrestling? That shit is boring. We're talking about dude suplexing. We're talking about Frankensteiners. Dangerous Danny Davis, man, that was the era. WrestleMania 3. My one regret when I went to Japan was not catching some pro wrestling. And it was Jushin Thunder Liger, who was my favorite Japanese wrestler. It was his retirement, and I just couldn't make it happen. Too busy. Had a lot of commitments. All right. Nearly one panel done. Yes, exactly there. Kurikan Hall. Exactly there. That was just a little out of the way for where I was, and even though I was staying in Tokyo, I did go to Rivera Steakhouse though. But the guy who runs the joint, who gives the who gives the jackets to the wrestlers, he didn't believe I was Jim Cornette. You always hear about Rivera Steakhouse, man, so it was cool to check it out. See all the posts, all the 8x10s on the wall and stuff. And the grub, it really tastes like your mom's steak. Like, it's just real basic. A lot of butter, definitely some artery clogging grub, corn. And also, that guy serves it on those like sizzling plates that, like, when he puts that plate in front of you, it fucking scalds you for minutes, man. There's just like all kinds of oil and shit just like searing off it and just hitting your skin. Doesn't faze that dude at all. And every time I try to get close, like, more burning oil jumps onto my hand. That dude would like wear glittery, like, showbiz type shirts. He was a real ham. I like that dude. And he would be in photos with back into the 80s and junk, and you could tell that it's still him, but just like a super young version. You go in there, it seats maybe 10, 11 people, and there's just a revolving door. You know, you get in there, eat your shit, get the hell out. No chit chat. I think the menu was just like, do you want an 8-ounce steak, 16-ounce steak, or 32? I think that was your options. You know shit's getting hairy when you see the stuffed animal in the serial killer comic. Evan, have a good night, man. As soon as I get done with this inking, I'm gonna be heading to bed myself. Long ass day. Thursday's my longest day because it's like all kayfabe in the morning, drawing at night. But now that the cat's out of the bag, I can hang out with you guys. Yeah, thanks, Brian. Fantagraphics a good home for Red Room. They're such a classy affair. I gotta keep their ears to the streets with some grotesquerie. Can't let them be too bougie now. But I also like that Gary and Eric are not punks and not going to be bullied whenever the lames start coming out, man, trying to roast the comic too much. Achilles, thanks for pre-ordering the comic. hit that link right there if you didn't pre-order the thing yet. Because you guys have already made it a hit, but let's make it a freaking blockbuster before the shit even comes out. It's 1 a.m. here in the east. The Senate hearings. Yeah, we got a lot of Frederick Worthams out there these days. The Bominator asks about thoughts on Scud, and I do have to confess a little ignorance, man. I never read that much Scud. I have a couple of issues, and whenever I see one, I scoop it up, and I always dig it. But I've always, I was a broke ass kid, man. I escaped poverty like 7 years ago, and if comics weren't super cheap, I didn't grab them. And Scud was always sort of hard to find. You never find it in a dollar bin. I love the art. What I do remember, though, because I remember seeing a trade, like reading something more substantial, I think. And I remember that the storytelling, like Rob Schrab, would be a little bit unclear on some of the storytelling stuff. And that would kind of take me out of it. But I think he's a funny guy for sure. Is he the dude who... Did he do Heat Vision and Jack? Whenever Jimmy and I first started hanging out, like probably the second time we hung out, he gave me this VHS tape that was like one of those recorded on EP tapes, 8 hours long. And it had Heat Vision and Jack. It had Project Grizzly, not to be confused with Grizzly Man. It had American Movie, and it had a Steve Martin comedy special. That was a good VHS. Oh, that'd be cool, man. Heat Vision and Jack mini comic. I caught American Mary. Was it last night? Yeah, last night. It was okay. I like that actress, man, from Ginger Snaps. She's cool, man. She has a good presence on the screen. She didn't have much to work with that flick. It had a lot of weakness to it, but not too bad. I still liked it. I got some stuff out of it. Aaron, would you be talking about Kuovin? It rhymes with oven. Yeah, I saw it. I bet that's on YouTube, huh? It's gotta be, right? I saw a flick not too long ago that was pretty good, man, called Hardcore. George C. Scott, the guy who played Patton, you know, he's like this pious, maybe he's even like a missionary or something. He's got a daughter, man. She's going away to Bible school or some bullshit. Disappears. Hires a private detective who comes back, man. Rents out a adult theater. Turns out his girl is in like a real scary, like porno with all kinds of insanity going on. You know, can't get in touch with the family, all that. So it's the rest of the movie is him trying to piece together what the hell's going on. I think it was written by the Taxi Driver guy, probably right after. It doesn't come close to that, but it still has that uncomfortable energy to it, man. And it introduces you to more kind of like seedy underbelly people that you kind of only read about. It made me think of like a Velvet Glove, actually. The Klaus comic, just with the snuff porno element. the guy who plays the private investigator is Wizard from Taxi Driver. You know, the guy who plays Frankenstein in Young Frankenstein, or should I say the monster? What the hell's his name? I forget. Peter Boyle, that's it. Putting on the Ritz. Robot Ninja? I don't know it. Dave Hartman asked about Polanski, and I definitely dug Rosemary's Baby. Read the book first. Was inspired to check it out. I was listening to the audio book of Stephen King's Danse Macabre, where he's just kind of like riffing on all of his kind of horror influences over his lifetime. And the thing that he said about Rosemary's Baby that kind of stoked me out was the writer Ira Levin. He said that Ira Levin writes novels that are as kind of complex in their construction as like a Swiss watch. And that intrigued me so much. I had to check that out, man. I had to read that book. And I saw immediately what he meant, because everything that Ira Levin mentions in that book has some purpose. And it makes me think that, like, you can't do that by just even doing 2 drafts. Like, this guy had to be insane with this process. And if he wasn't, goddamn, I mean, superhuman. Superhuman writer. So I read the book and then obviously was like, fuck it, man, let's check out the flick. And I dug it, you know. And the flick had a similar level of complexity with some of the payoffs and stuff that you would see over time. You could almost always bet the book is better than the movie. There are exceptions. Godfather comes to mind. I think Jaws is probably a better flick. Actually, speaking of Spielberg, another flick that I was inspired to watch after reading Danse Macabre was Spielberg's Duel, the made-for-TV movie about this crazy truck driver trying to run a dude off a road, chase him down desert highway. It's like proto Jaws. It's Jaws on land. And there is amazing storytelling that Spielberg is able to pull off. Great compositions, incredible suspense. You never see the truck driver. Easily recommend that movie. Duel. Yeah, in all fairness, Shawshank Redemption is just like a short story, though. There's that book called Four Seasons, I think. Had Apt Pupil, Shawshank Redemption, and I don't know what the other two were. I forget. Pet Sematary, top dog to me when it comes to Stephen King flicks. Shit, I might watch that tonight. What time is it here? It is 1 a.m. Way past my bedtime, but I accidentally caught a long-ass nap. Trying to think, where the fuck? I haven't seen the Dead Zone movie. Is that Morton Sheen? Play the bad politician guy? Man, I don't even know Night Flyer. Yeah, drop some flick recommendations, man. it's not gonna be easy for me to just crash out real easy after putting in this work. Like there's like a little bit of like a high that comes from just putting the pages together. Like I gotta come down a little bit, gotta relax, gotta chill out. And my preferred method is with, you know, weird ass horror type movies. One of the reasons for that is because they directly affect my dreams, and I get some good ideas from my dreams and stuff. So any recommendations, by all means. That Salem Lot flick was pretty good, man. Pretty iconic. The little vampire kids hanging out the window. The book is excellent. The book is so good. Cannibal Holocaust, I know that one well. Still got that on bootleg VHS. How many people have pre-ordered the Red Room comic? Let me see a show of hands real quick, just out of curiosity. It's real fun seeing how the channel affects that. And if you haven't done so, hit that link, man. Pre-order the comic. You're not gonna wanna miss out on that sucker. Monster Squad, man, that's a classic. Something I watched for the first time very recently was People Under the Stairs. I did not feel that shit, man. There were moments, but it wasn't that cool. Yeah, you could definitely order the Red Room comics through your shop, and I would suggest getting it a pull list, man, because it's going to come out every month, and every issue is going to be a self-contained experience. Some characters might show up in other issues, like the characters that are explored here or the characters from issue 1. But it's a different facet of their lives, a different dynamic, different story. Yeah, man. Kiss put their blood in the ink of their comics before there was an AIDS virus and shit like that, man. Like I don't see that kind of thing ever being possible. Not a bad gimmick though. Not a bad gimmick at all. And certainly in these COVID times and everybody, like nobody even wants to shake hands ever again. Yeah, the original Fright Night is awesome. As a kid, man, I watched that flick to death. All right. God told me to. Good title, intriguing title. I just saw Cruising not too long ago. I remember renting it a million years ago. And I forget what inspired me to check that out again. I think it was... No, I don't even remember. Well, I watched Godfather and stuff over again, so maybe I was just on a Pacino kick. Let's check out one of his duds. You know what? Somebody said Maniac before, and it got a good response. I'm going to check that out. I don't know that I've seen that before. Though if it's 1980, if it was any kind of mainstream, I must have. You know, if it would have been in a video store. Anyhow, I think we put some good work in. There's going to be some splatter stuff I'm going to do, but I'm going to do that when I'm way more coherent. This top piece will get color. This middle piece will get duotone. Bottom piece gets zipatone. Boom. Edited 2.5 hours worth of Red Room today. Recorded about 6 hours of Red Room today. Red Room, what do I talk about? Kayfabe. Kayfabe. 6 hours of Kayfabe stuff. 2.5 hours of editing on those vids. A good 2-hour session on this Red Room page. I think I could rest my head on the pillow, feeling reasonably accomplished. Until I wake up in the morning, realizing there's still a whole lot of stuff that needs doing. I'll probably color this page, tone it up, hook it all up early, and then tomorrow night probably jump on another stream. Not this late, but at some point. Good videos coming up tomorrow, though. You're gonna dig it. Anyhow, one more time, I gotta thank you guys for making the comic a success off the bat. You know, months ahead of it even coming out. Feel real good about things. I think you guys will dig the comic. I don't think you're gonna be let down. I have 200 more pages to do. Like, let me think about it. No, at least 150 pages to do. And there will be streams of most of them when it comes to the ink part. Tighten up some of these letters. Alright. Not a bad day. Thank you guys for kicking it. Thank you for pre-ordering the Red Room comics. Thanks for supporting the Kayfabe channel. And you guys have a good night. We'll do it again soon.